Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Zero Hour as we perform our autopsy on the corpse that was the election of 2014. You know, we really want to look at this from the point of view of the left and of the Democratic Party, two entities that may overlap at certain points but are not the same thing, and it's important to remember that. And I think what I want to do now, bear with me for a second, because there are some polling numbers out that I think really shed a lot of insight on what we're looking at, on the phenomenon that just happened. And I'll give you a sneak preview, okay? Somebody I know said on Twitter, I really hate 2014. I really don't think this is a 2014 problem. I think it goes back a lot farther than that. Let me show you what I mean. The AFL-CIO did a survey of exit polls in 8 battleground Senate states. And remember, you know, Democrats were also hammered at the gubernatorial level in surprising places where nobody thought they'd lose. But these survey results give us a lot of insight into the results we just saw on the Senate side, where it was also, of course, a wipeout for the Democrats. Let's take a look. Okay, first of all, you know, a mordant chuckle might be in place if the stakes weren't so high and the prospects so grim for the country. The voters have basically elected people they don't like and don't trust. This is how upset they are with Democrats. Let me tell you what I mean. According to voters in battleground states, we find that let's see, less than half of them have a lot, or even some confidence in the Republicans in Congress. 47% said they have a lot or some confidence that the Republicans might do something to improve the economy. More than half, 51%. And remember, these are states that went Republican. 51% of those polled said they either have just a tiny bit of confidence or absolutely no confidence at all in the Republicans. And yet the Republicans won. In terms of looking out for middle-class families, only 41% of voters had a lot or some confidence in Republicans that they would be looking out for middle-class families. 56% had very little or no confidence. Now, it gets even more interesting when we look at people's personal lives. Voters in Senate battleground states say their incomes are falling behind. How many people said, my income in these battleground states, my income is going up faster than my cost of living? 8%. Less than 1 in 10 says they're getting ahead of the curve on income. See, what this means, there were decades and decades in this country where people had a rising standard of living. Now only 8%. Less than 1 in 10 say that that's true. Now, how many people are staying even, struggling, but managing to stay afloat? Only 1/3, 33%. How many people say they're falling behind? More than half, 54%. Now, these are the people who just elected Republicans. They're falling behind. They have little or no confidence in the Republicans, yet they elected them. That I would take as a no vote on the Democrats. Now, what do they think about raising wages and salaries, which is something the Republicans are against? How many people think that's a good idea because it improves standard of living for people and boosts the economy by putting money out there? How many people you think who voted for these Republicans feel that way about this very un-Republican idea? 68%. Only 22% think it's bad to have wages go up. Of course, that's why these minimum wage initiatives did so spectacularly well. Now, how many people favor increased funding for public schools from preschool through college, something Republicans adamantly oppose? 75%, 3 out of 4. How many people want to increase taxes on corporations, particularly their overseas profits, to ensure they pay as much as they do for profits here at home, something the Republicans adamantly oppose and something that will probably be destroyed by a bipartisan deal in the upcoming session? 73%, nearly 3 in 4. How many people think that the federal minimum wage ought to be raised to $10.10 an hour, something the Republicans adamantly oppose? 62%. How many people want to increase Social Security benefits by raising taxes on millionaires, something Republicans adamantly oppose? 62%. How many people want to end the tax loopholes that let corporations move overseas and evade U.S. taxes, something the Republicans defend? 57%. On and on. How many people support a comprehensive immigration reform program that includes a path to citizenship? 55%. Okay, so these guys, we could go on, but you get the gist. These guys strongly feel that they support the agenda that should have been the Democratic Party agenda, and it perhaps at one point would have been, and yet they've elected Republicans. Now, how do they feel about the Republican agenda? How many of them support Mitch McConnell's pet project and the Republicans' pet project of reducing regulations on Wall Street, on financial institutions? Only 1 in 3, less than 1 in 3, 31%. How many want to raise the Social Security retirement age, which Republicans have proposed? 27%, roughly 1 in 4. How many people support the Republican idea of raising the Medicare eligibility age? 18%, less than 1 in 5, on and on and on. What about the fast track agreement? Now, this is fast tracking the trade agreement is something that the president has tried to do, and the Republicans like. This is another NAFTA-like deal, even worse in many ways. We won't go into it here except to say it will cost American jobs, it will reduce our ability to protect our environment, and it will just overall kind of blow. Now, how many people support the idea that is all now but a certain thing to go through this fast tracking of the trade deal? How many people strongly oppose? How many people oppose it? 49%. How many people favor it? 36%. In other words, again, on and on and on. These people do not want. Now, do they want the government to spend or not spend? Remember, Republicans are the not spend. 67%. 2/3 want the government to invest in key priorities, and on and on and on we go. Okay, so what does this tell us? This basically tells us that we just, and by we mean the American people, just elected a government that will do things they hate. Does that mean that they are irrational? Does that mean that they are stupid? I'm going to tell you, I don't think so. I think it's a lot more complicated than that. It may not have been the wisest thing to do, but I think it's time for the Democratic Party to take responsibility for its own failures. And when we come back from the break, that's exactly what I'm going to talk to you about. I'm Richard RJ Eskow, and this is The Zero Hour.